Is the OMI correction coming to a close? Let's discuss and analyze the possibilities. What's up, gang? Carlton Flowers here, your crypto pro. Yay! And we are back to discuss the OMI price chart. Why? Because there are some clues that we could be at the close of the bear slide that we have so gruelingly watched over the last couple of months since the big pop that happened before the big parabolic Bitcoin move. All right, so we're going to pull up the OMI chart and just break this down. Let's get rid of that. And here we are. We're going to start out with the 1-day chart, and then we'll zoom into the 4-hour, and we'll just look at all of the possibilities of where we could go from here. So on the 1-day chart, of course, we had the major explosive move. I had an entry point somewhere around here at 0.0029 or 269 was my average price for the two bags that I bought back in, what was that, March, late February, I think it was, when I FOMO'd in. When I jumped in on OMI back here, I'm telling you what, I was sweating bullets because it took me 12 hours total in order to get my USDT moved over to Bitforex. The network was clogged. It took 3 hours, I think, to transfer the first amount, and it took nearly 6 hours for the second amount. And now sending USDT to the Bitforex exchange is not nearly as hard. And I use a little trick where I am sending the coins on the TRC20 network instead of the ERC20 network, and that saves a pile in gas fees. Of course, we all know that ETH gas fees are at an all-time high, but on the TRC20 network, it only cost me $1 to send money from the KuCoin exchange to the Bitforex exchange. So that's my method. All right, now looking at this chart, of course, we had this long, grueling process where we watched the price just tank down to the point where we are right now. And I am going to get rid of some of these averages, and then I'm going to put up my favorites, which is the 50, and the 200 EMA. So we're going to make this one the 200, and we're going to make this one the 50. You can use whatever you want, but the point is be consistent in which ones you use because you're going to get some of the same signals. Some people say that one is better than the other, but I do fine with the 50 and the 200 because I've been doing that for 3 years now. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So here we are. We are far below the 50 EMA, but notice that we have now touched and poked below the 200 EMA right there. Now, whenever we have these downtrends, one thing I've noticed, and Alessio Rastani talks about this, we usually dive down and break the actual bottom point and get snatched right back up, and that could be what we see happening now. We're on the second daily candle where it did wick down to about 0.002, and now we're sitting at 0.0026, moving up because it was at about 0.0024 just a few, maybe an hour ago when I started looking at this chart, when I decided that this is the time that we need to do the update. Volume-wise, it's been a boring time where we've got pretty steady volume, and you see a lot of red that's going on. And the story is, with all of these red bars, is that the developers and the founders, the original people of the OMI team, they reached the point, I think it was at the beginning of May, where they were allowed finally to start selling. So they were locked out from selling the token for 24 months. That was the rule. And after that point, they could finally start selling and taking profits, which is a normal thing that can happen. There have been a lot of people that criticize that, and it's really kind of dumb to criticize them for selling because we don't know how much that they've come out of pocket or how their financial situations are where they're not allowed to sell those tokens to make a living. So they're allowed to sell, and it's very normal. They probably entered at a much, much, much lower point where their tokens were issued. So it makes sense that they would be able to sell, make some money, and buy their kids some new shoes. Same goals at what we have ourselves. So here we are right here at just below the 200 EMA. Moving down to the stochastic, we notice the stochastic has been very weak and bearish ever since the big drop right here. We were kind of rising up just a little bit, and then it settled down. We dipped way into the oversold zone here, and notice that we are almost ready to poke above the 20% line and exit oversold. We're not there yet. However, we are looking at a crossover that is happening right here. Do you see that crossover? It just crossed over. Will it hold? I don't know. There have been several crosses like this one here where we crossed over to what would be called a bullish crossover, even though this is still a bearish zone. And then it crossed over back going down. Then we crossed over coming up again and then back down. So all that to say, this might not be the final one. But notice, with these dips here, there's a general progression moving upward now on the stochastic. That is a good indication that we could be approaching the bottom. The plane might be taxiing on the runway it just landed, and then maybe we take a short break and the plane could take off again. Now, the MACD still looks bearish and boring and weak. But the good thing is we don't have the volatility on the histogram. Look at these big bars here. These would be green on a trading view chart. And then we had a nice dip down here where there would be red bars on the trading view chart. I can't wait until OMI shows up on the trading view chart. Right now, they just have the wrapped OMI, the ERC20 version, which is worthless to me because it doesn't have enough price history. But since then, notice how the MACD histogram is just stuck around the zero line. It's not doing much, so it's very quiet. Even though the oscillators are way down below in the oversold zone, they are still relatively flat lining here without that volatility. As soon as it finishes this, notice in history here before where the oscillators were close together, and then it pops out and they diverge and you get this nice distance between the %K and the %D. Then they came back together. The next time they pop out was right here in the slide and they diverge, but then it starts to come back together. So that is a good thing. We don't have this wide gap anymore. They're stuck together even though it's slightly descending. So this is a big indication that this might be it. So if this is the end, I would expect that if something happens on Bitcoin, we could get a pop here, or we could jump up and test the 50 EMA where it might reject and then start to bounce around and go into consolidation mode. That's what I would like to see. It could be slow and steady. And if that's the case, it's time for me to add a little bit to my bag. Now, I'm not touching my milli bag, my 1 milli bag. I've got 1,024,974 tokens safely tucked away in MetaMask that I will not play with. I also have 100,000 that I bought at 0.0044 that I'm looking to DCA, or dollar cost average, which means that as the price is going down, you continue purchasing tokens so your average is pulled down. So this is where I bought last time. I thought this was the bottom point. And now I'm going to do another one here so I can bring the overall average of the swing trade bag to somewhere around 0.003. And that's the bag that I'm going to play with. So I might grab another 100,000, which would give me 200,000 to play around. Now, what I mean by play around is this. I will swing trade that bag with the goal to increase my position. So this means that I would like buy here, I would sell at a peak, and then I would buy back here. Every time that we have the indicators telling us that there is a change in the swing channel, I buy and sell. And I don't have to worry about, say, let's imagine if I had sold here and then it just goes up again. Well, big deal. I still got $1 million in the milli bag. So I will play and swing trade with the trading bag until I get caught where the price continues to go up past a point that I have a peak. So my overall goal would be to see if I could take the 200,000 tokens and swing trade those up to $1 million, so I end up with 2 million total. Now, let's jump to the 4-hour chart and see what it looks like. So for right now, we have this nice little green candle right here, which is very nice. It says, hey, we might be breaking this trend. And on the 4 hour, the stochastic looks even better. Look at that divergence right there. We had the bullish crossover at this point right here, and we have a nice divergence with a good angle poking upwards for the first time since this one was just too quick. That was just a spike. We had this big fake out wick that a lot of people got sucked into, and then it continued the trend. But notice this wick did not ever go above the 200 EMA. It stayed below it. It didn't even touch it. So that's why I didn't get faked. In fact, I might have gotten faked out. I can't remember if I bought my first swing bag back here. It might have been back here, but there's a chance that I got fooled on this where it did not make it up to the 200 EMA and then went back below the 50. Look at the MACD. It looks like the fast line is curling up. See that little tick up? It's trying to move back towards the slow line. And it looks like we could possibly be at the bottom of the histogram here, where maybe it'll round up. If it rounds up and crosses over into the positive area, and if this stochastic continues to head up towards the overbought line, if it gets up here into the 80% area, it might be time to start having fun again. Now, overall, I will tell you that I don't have not one single concern or worry about OMI and the price progression. Why? Because they have just too much in the works. There's too many things going on in the positive. They're building lots of strategic connections, licensing for some major worldwide known brands. And in the long run, I think this is going to be one of the best holdings that I've ever had. It should be fun in the next 6 months, or if this is the end of the bull run, which I don't think it is, it might take a few years, but I'll be accumulating all the way, no matter what. And my goal will be to ride this into the fall. And if the bull market does continue, which I'm leaning towards that, then I'll set a strategy where I start selling 100,000 at a time if the market heats up. And I'll sell on the way up. So let's say the price line ends up doing something like this. And then it goes down, then it goes up, down, up. And then we have the all-time high, and then it goes into bear market time. What I will do is protect myself so I don't get caught trying to wait for the all-time peak because we don't know where it could be. If I'm waiting for this and then we're down here, I missed my opportunity. But if I say sell 100,000 on this peak, sell 100,000 on this peak, on this peak, on each one, and then sell the rest of it on the remaining final pop up when we have a lower low and then a higher lower high, I should be completely out of my position by this point right here. That's my strategy. And then once we get into the bear market, I'll start to accumulate down here when everybody's sad and depressed and crying and complaining about how the OMI team, they ain't pumping up the price. We need more releases and this and that and the other. Well, that's when you accumulate. You buy when nobody else is. I bought in at a low point. I'm going to consolidate more now and then sell when the fervor hits. Okay, so that's my strategy. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And I'll have a video coming out pretty soon where I'm going to break out what is going on with the values of the NFTs. As you know, I made over $12,000 flipping these things on eBay, and I have a lot of details to give you because it's really silly. It doesn't make sense other than when the market was down, why people were buying on eBay. Well, that whole jig is up, at least for right now. So I'm still sitting on 326 of my NFTs. Actually, it's at 340 because I picked up some more on the last drop. I might cool it, and on the next drop, I'm going to sit back and not buy retail and wait for the ding-dongs to sell them cheaper than the retail price on the market app. But that's all for later. That's all we've got. That is my TA. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and please share the video with your friends, and we'll keep a track of this. This is Carlton Flowers, and I'm out.